good afternoon. This is Hugh Mackin with CatholicJoe-v3 live, and I am delighted to be joined by Steve Thomas, the author of Catholic Joe Superhero. Thank you so much for your willingness to join us.
Happy to. Great to be here. Thank you, Hugh.
Yes, thank you. So just to get started, what sparked the idea for Catholic Joe, the whole concept of it originally, and when did you realize the story would center on marriage and the issue of divorce, which is kind of a key storyline for this book?
So I would say one of the main reasons was as a Catholic man, I felt like I was always on my heels, and I felt like as men we were constantly playing defense. I was tired. I was just tired of getting like beat up, in the media, and I thought, we need to create a character that can kind of like hold his own, take care of business, and also promote the Catholic faith. And so, that's one of the reasons. The other reason was therapy, right? It's actually good therapy to be able to create a situation and where the good guy wins, and again, where I can tell the bishops what to do. And anyway, it was a really fun book to write. And I just, again, I wrote it for Catholic men, but it was shocking because Catholic women love it too. And I for the life of me, I couldn't understand why. And really, it was after interviewing a few where they said they love to see the beauty of masculinity, of real masculinity. So that was, that was kind of, the real reason really was just to bolster men, to kind of ignite them. And I don't know, you've read part of it, so I don't know. Does it ignite you, Hugh?
Yeah, I just realized I'm muted. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, I found it to be a really gripping read, to be honest. I mean, it definitely is a page turner, and I appreciate the fact that it focuses on the issue of divorce and how a Catholic can deal with that issue. And I love the fact that in the book you highlight a family member who takes a real interest in it's a family member who takes a real interest in his brother, basically, who's about to get divorced, right? So would you mind just speaking a little bit about that? Because for me, there was that dynamic tension of like, okay, this is his brother, and so it's who's considering getting divorced, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so I was thinking of myself, like, if my brother, God forbid, and we're in that situation, I mean, to some extent, it's like, it's his life, right? I'm not supposed to get involved with it. It's like not my business. And yet, Catholic Joe, like, he makes it his business to help rescue his brother's marriage. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, and just to give a little background, so I came from a divorce, family. So my growing up as a child went through divorce, and it was horrendous. It was like, I call it the crucible of divorce. And you've got literally millions of people that have gone through it, and we kind of pretend that it's okay. I mean, everybody's going to be okay, and but it really is something that it leaves a mark, right? It definitely causes wounds, and and so I wanted to create a story really around marriage and around somebody who fights for marriage. So I think I designated Joe, Lieutenant General Joseph Salvatore, as the unofficial patron saint of marriage. So so he finds out that his youngest brother Vinny, who lives in Las Vegas, Sin City, and wants to get divorced, and he couldn't, for the life of me, couldn't understand how this could happen, because they were raised in such a beautiful, loving family. Their parents, their siblings. It was just a kind of a paradise on earth with their family, and so Joe couldn't understand it. So he wanted to go out and and like two good Italian brothers, they fight, and at the end of it, they're hugging and kissing, and telling each other they love each other, and so he just wanted to find out what happened, and so the story begins there. He focuses on his brother Vinny kind of in the particular, and then it goes more into the universal. He goes into the church and figures out, okay, how does how does the divorce rate in the Catholic Church, how is it that the divorce rate is the same as general population? How come our statistics are no different? And so so anyway, so that's where it starts. And again, it's got a very throughout the stories, it focuses on marriage quite a bit.
Yeah, so was that motivated by your own? It sounds like it was motivated by your own experience.
Of course, yeah, for sure. It was, it was the pain. It was the pain and the suffering, and I feel like God, especially through our Blessed Mother, and Saint Joseph, is calling me to really, just to be, to fight for marriage, and so that's part of one of the reasons I wrote the book.
Yeah, and then speak a little bit, if you would, about like the method that Joe goes about in fighting for marriage. Like how does he do it?
Well, so again, Joe's highly intelligent. Again, a lieutenant general, worked his way up. They call him a Mustanger. So he worked his way up through the military as a Marine. So hoorah to any Marine that's listening. And he just again he gathered information, he gathered data, and he started with his brother, his youngest brother Vinny, and then he wanted to look at all of the influencers on his brother. And so, he looked at the marriage prop, he looked at, the diocese, he looked at all the different things that would come into play. And what he found out was that there was a certain level of maybe corruption and just, not necessarily malfeasance, but just a lot of neglect. And again, I always tell people, there's a kind of an injustice with the sacrament of matrimony. We've got our priests, they get 8 years of education, which is great, and they should. We love our priests, right? We love our priests, especially ones that are faithful. And for marriage, we maybe get a pamphlet on the church's teaching on natural family planning, or, so that, there's a real discrepancy there. So, I try to point that out in the story. And again, I try to weave in the church's teaching in a way that would be, compelling and, more beautiful and not preachy. Yeah, I don't want to do the Kendrick brothers on the story itself, but just, you want to try to create something that will draw people in and draw people into the beauty of what the church teaches.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like the way that you describe that too, because I remember someone once saying to me, and by the way, this is a copy of the book. I've got it right here. You can see it. It's kind of fading out a little bit with my pseudo green screen, but you can see it in the corner of the screen there as well. And if you've got questions for Steve Thomas, who's the author of Catholic Joe Superhero, definitely please feel free to leave them in the comments, either now if you're watching this live, or later when we post this later. But yeah, I like the fact that, as you said, it's really not preaching. I mean, this is a really interesting and engaging story. I mean, it's a page turner. I remember someone once saying, like good Christian films and books, really, they shouldn't taste like medicine. And I think a lot of times they do, right? It's like you're kind of it's something good, right? But it feels like it's medicine. This doesn't feel that way. It feels like something sweet, and yet you've got some really good nutrients baked into it, like some wonderful nutrients. One of which, by the way, is confession. So speak a little bit about that, if you would, how you wove that into the story.
So actually, Joe and a good priest friend of his, they kind of cabal together, and they're able to get Joe's brother Vinny to go in and to make a good confession. And that again, when I originally thought about writing the book, I wanted every chapter to start with Joe in the confessional. So I wanted to try to weave in some humor, with that. And but I got a little bit I went in different directions, and I didn't go down that direction. But I definitely, again, things like confession are kind of solidly portrayed in the book. And I don't know if I told you, so we're also looking at making it into a series, so a movie series. There's a movie producer, well known, who is looking at doing it. So yeah, even when
Yeah.
even when I wrote the book, I wrote it really as if it were a movie. And again, more of a series, something that's ongoing. Even like the camera angles, the music, that was going on, you know, all that stuff was like in my head as it kind of like playing out as I was writing it and stuff. But yeah, so things like confession, very important, and again, want to convey it in a way that that makes it attractive and not something that's, like you said, medicine.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'm curious, what misconceptions about divorce did you want to challenge through the story, Steve?
Well, maybe not necessarily misconception, but just really just show that it it is kind of, it's like the 800-pound gorilla in the room, or the elephant in the room, that everybody just kind of like pretends that it's okay, you know what I mean? And again, we all know people who have gone through divorce, and some of us may have gone through divorce, or and the thing is, it's a truly unfortunate and painful thing. It's a painful process, especially for the children. A lot of times we kind of tell ourselves that, well, it's for the good of the kids, or it's for the but the thing is, it's never a good thing. And so, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes a spouse might be violent, or they're just recalcitrant. They don't want to change, and it's something that will bring destruction to the family. you know there are certain situations that probably warrant it. But I just wanted to show that, you know just because everybody's comfortable with it doesn't make it right. And also, to show that it's something that, again, even though we pretend that, that it's okay, it's a part of our culture, it's not okay. And it's something that's it's worth fighting for. And that's what I wanted to kind of convey, that it's definitely one of those things that are worth fighting for.
Yeah, no, that's great, and that definitely comes across in the story. So, I mean, what role do you think that the Catholic Church could be playing in the modern struggle to preserve marriages that where maybe it's not doing as much? Do you think there's more that the church could
Yeah.
be doing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no question. I mean, look at the statistics of marriages, of Catholic marriages over the last, I don't know, 10 years. It's dramatically dropped. And the thing is that what we don't really like comprehend is that the domestic church, the family, right, is the domestic church. And if the domestic church is dying, so is the institutional, church. And the thing is that, if we've got a divorce rate that's no different than general society, if we've got a contraception, couples that using contraception rate, IVF, things like that, if that's no different in the Catholic Church than it is outside the church, then we've kind of lost our flavor. And we need to really look at that seriously, because um, that's a grave sin. It's a grave sin, because we're not giving couples the tools that they need to succeed. And that's something that, as a church, as leadership in the church, really needs to look at that, because that's, again, not that I want to sling mud at the leaders, again, because we've got just some awesome priests that just lay themselves down every day. But we've got some leaders that, if they maybe are motivated by different things. And it might be, well, we don't want to come out strongly against contraception, because most everybody uses it. And we don't want to kind of scare people away, and what will that do? And so it's, yeah, so there's a lot that I would say. In fact, if the last chapter of the book really is my diatribe on, it's my diatribe to the bishops, in chapter 33. And you'll see that, that there is there's a lot that can be done. And again, we as lay people,
Mhm.
we only have so much influence. And again, I would say, I take that back. we have a lot of influence because even if you look at leadership, they really, they can come up and dictate rules and things like that, but it's really the lay people that are the ones that are going to be instruments of, mentors and, instruments of good examples of to different married couples, things like that, engaged couples. So we really do have a lot of influence.
Amen to that. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for saying that too. I think that's so true. And not just saying it, but I think it's really extremely well illustrated in this book, which, again, we're interviewing the author of the book. It's Catholic Joe Superhero by Steve Thomas.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, please do buy it. I had the link up there before. So CatholicJoe-v3.com. You can get it there. I think you can get it on Amazon as well, right?
No, we don't want to support Amazon.
I choose not to go. I try not to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go to CatholicJoeSuperhero.com. Steve, you mentioned the topic of contraception. That did feature pretty prominently in the book. I'm glad it did. And you mentioned also the topic of the divorce rate. And what strikes me as interesting, I think it was Father Mike. I've been listening to the Catechism of the Year, Father Mike, which highly recommend. Awesome. Kudos to Father Mike. He's just amazing. And one of the things he highlighted was the low incidence of divorce, not surprisingly, among couples that are doing natural family planning, which is, by the way, very, very effective in terms of preventing pregnancies in a very, very natural way. So I think it's over 95% effective, something like that. And the rate of divorce is significantly lower among couples that practice NFP compared with those.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my wife and I, we used to teach NFP, so natural family planning. We used to teach that for probably about 10 years through our diocese. And yeah, one of the things that you find is that it's one of those. So Dr. Janet Smith had a talk that she had given. I don't know if have you heard it, Hugh? It's called Contraception, Why Not?
I've heard about that one, but yeah, definitely a big fan.
Okay, it's an older talk. I would recommend people look it up, but it's just a magnificent description of how NFP changes the dynamics of a marriage and why you don't have there's this insignificant divorce rate among couples that use natural family planning. There's all kinds of dynamics that I'm not going to go in here, but I mean, it changed. So when my wife and I, when we started to really, understand the church teaching and started to use it, because I was challenged by a priest to teach it, it changed our marriage. I mean, between that and the family rosary, those are two things that really changed the dynamics of our family and our marriage. So I would strongly recommend any couple, especially an engaged couple, to look into the church's teaching on natural family planning, and and a couple things too. And people don't know this. So we were taught by some of the top experts in the world on fertility. We learned that the couples that use the pill. So if let's say a woman is on the pill at age 16 for her acne, right? It ages your fertility 2 years for every year that you're on it. So a lot of people don't realize that. For every year that you take the pill, it ages your fertility 2 years. So if you get to be, in your 30s, your fertility is much older. And people, and again, the pharmaceutical companies are not going to tell you that. In fact, the person they hired to research this, who we were taught by, Dr. Eric Odeblad, I think he's probably since passed away because he was ancient back then. When he found out how harmful these contraceptives were to women's health, they basically just they thanked him, and they put all of his research in a vault somewhere and locked it up. So yeah, one of the best kept secrets in the Catholic Church.
Yes, yeah, and I appreciate how you handle the topic as well in the book. Is basically in that way that really is very compassionate. I mean,
Yeah.
in the sense of, okay, people are trying to do the right thing. The church, I think, in her wisdom, understands the dangers of contraception, that it really can put a wedge in a marriage. And I think you kind of see that in the book, illustrated really well. So kudos to you for that. So talk to me, if you would, just before we wrap up here. I know we're kind of getting close to the end of our discussion, although I hope we can have another, have a follow-up discussion. So our mutual friend, John McGuire. So how was he involved with this? I mean, he is quite an amazing person. And thank you, John McGuire, for helping to set this up, by the way. So John, what was John's role in this?
So John, so actually, so John is a partial, so the main character was partially not John would have you believe that it was like 99% on him, but there's a sliver of John, there's a sliver, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. There's all these different characters, but yeah, John, and John, I would read to him a chapter, be a Friday night. I'd call him, and if I got a chapter done, I'd read it to him, and he'd give feedback, and so it's just good. John's been great. He's again, he's got they used to call him the Bully Buster, so I borrowed that for the book, as one of the titles or nicknames for Catholic Joe. But yeah, so John.
Yes.
John is a big promoter of the book. Yeah.
Really, he really is, and he is, and I can attest to that. Steve, like here in Ave Maria, Florida, he has been promoting that book like no tomorrow, and really is a big fan of it. I think John sees the value of it. This is a tool that really can. So it's not just like an entertaining book, which it is. It's actually really entertaining. To me, it's great for people in the military. I was amazed, which was like, as I was reading this, I was like, okay, yeah, they definitely had people in the military who were who were kind of advising you on or maybe you knew the terminology, because there was kind of like insider military terminology that was used.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, and actually, I got my clock cleaned by I think it was a colonel or somebody that I made the mistake of having somebody call a Marine soldier, and that's a no.
Okay.
And also, there's no such thing as a former Marine. You know what I mean? It's you're always a Marine, even beyond death. It's yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot, from John, from some of his friends. There's, in fact, I think the highest ranking member of the military that's read this is a 4-star general. I think General McConville. I know a copy was given to him by his brother, who I'm friends with, and so we'll see what comes from that.
So let me ask you. So John was telling me you guys would really like to get this book into prisons. So I mean, the people we're speaking to here, a lot of them are Catholics. Obviously, I mean, it's Christmas season. This is a great time to buy gifts for people, not just for yourself, buy gifts for others. But what about the prisons? Like, what was the thought there in terms of giving?
Yeah. So there's some deacons here that do prison ministry, and I didn't know it, but they had bought some books for me, and they had handed them out to some prisoners, and I had gotten a letter from a prisoner. This deacon handed it to me, and it just said, "Dear Steve, you don't know me, but I just want you to know I read your book, and it pierced me to the heart." He said, I feel like there's a fire in my heart for the Lord. He goes, I say the Angelus every day now at 6, 12, and 6. So you got a prisoner, saying the Angelus, and he said, it changed his life. And one of the things that he said that my wife didn't like, he goes, I can't wait until I get out. I would love to come and meet you. And my wife's like, he's not going to come to our house, is he? I said, yeah, don't worry about it. But to think that you could be a part of somebody kind of just, really getting to know our Lord, or getting closer to our Lord, to me, it's like giving birth, right? It's so powerful and so beautiful to think that God could use us to be a part of that. So I'm just grateful for, I get feedback from people all the time, and yeah, prisoners, again, there's a lot of prison scenes in the book itself. So I think that's part of the reason, right?
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah. And again, what I love about this book is it's very believable. There's a lot of this is definitely not a choir boy type of book. I mean, in the sense of nice scenes without nice.
No, in fact, one of the top book reviewers, he reviewed like 400 books. because I was really eager to see what he's going to say about it. And he goes, in his review, he goes, "This is like a Catholic Jack Reacher or Jason Bourne." I was like, yes. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's,
no,
that's what,
that's exactly right.
yeah, yeah. So it's got some moxie, and I mean, there's some F-bombs in there that are blotted out. That I mean, I try to make it authentic without being offensive to people. Because again, it's a part of our lives, unfortunately, right? We don't necessarily care like that, but the thing is, you want to make it authentic. You want to really show sin so you can show redemption. Because that's the thing that everybody needs to hear or see, is that there's hope for all of us. There's redemption for all of us. And no matter how hardened the sinner or how bad the sin, you want to make sure you convey to people that there's always, always, always hope. And that's hopefully what comes out of the book as well.
No, for sure. It's definitely what I get. I mean, and to me, what a Christmas gift, really, like that idea of hope, right? And it's like the silver lining, like the story ends like on a really positive and hopeful note. Because really they're brought back together by the grace of God. And so it's
And
just
don't bury the Yeti. We don't want to give too much away here.
spoilers, right? But I mean, and I
Spoiler alert. Yeah, there you go.
exactly, yeah, spoiler alert is right. But I mean, let's just say that there's a lot of healing that takes place that really comes about by the grace of God, and so it's it is very, very hopeful, like you said. So if you're watching, I mean, again, please do feel free to leave comments. So Steve, I'll probably share this with you later. As I said, we'll have people watching this afterwards as well, because we'll post it later. Feel free to ask questions. If you are interested in buying it, again, not just for yourself, but do you know someone whose marriage is struggling? This is a great book to give them. And it won't be over the top, like, hey, I know you're struggling with marriage, here's the book. No, this isn't a book about like marriage. It's a page turner. It's an adventure book, and
It's about Catholic. It's him living a normal life, but it shows how Catholicism just animates everything about his life. And again, he's got his faults, right? He's not perfect. He struggles with PTSD and painkillers and whatnot, but he's not perfect. He smokes cigars, he drinks bourbon. And again, he goes to confession. But it's something that I think, yeah, yeah. He's like all of us, and that's the thing, is that that's why I also use the word Catholic Joe, is that and there's a tagline on there. It's what could one man possibly do, and that the tagline is not meant to be a question. It's meant to be a challenge, because the thing is one man, one woman could do a hell of a lot, and that's the thing, is that and that's really what came out of the book, is that when men read it, or people read it, they're fired up. I just had this guy who was an older guy too. He goes, "I just finished your book." He goes, "I just feel like I know I need to do something." You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I want, is to light a fire under their butt and just say, God needs you, man. He needs you. Get in the game. Get in the game.
Nice. Yeah, well said, and a good point, good comment to end on, Steve. Thank you so much, Steve Thomas, for joining us and speaking about the book that you authored, Catholic Joe Superhero. Thank you again to John McGuire for making the connection, and all of John's work, I know, on the book as well. And I know there are a lot of other people involved with the creation of the book. So thank you to all of you who assisted with it, and above all to our Lord, right? Because it was his inspired.
It's all gift. Everything is gift to you. Everything is gift. Yep.
Yes, amen to that. So definitely check out Catholic Joe Superhero. Purchase it online, buy multiple copies, right? There's no reason to just buy one.
Hey, give the gift of faith. Give the gift of faith, because that's what it'll do. My sister was away from the church. She's very liberal, and she read it and she was in tears. She goes, "I didn't realize how beautiful and rich our faith was," and she came back to church. My own sister. So
awesome. No, that's
and she's liberal. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. Thank you so much again, Steve. And definitely hope to have you on again, and then maybe John too. We'll see. I'd love to have him on as well.
I'd never get a word in, Edge. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right. No, yeah, I love John. He's a legend around here, and definitely have to get him on Catholic 365 Live too. So thank you again, Steve. Thank you so much.
You got it. God bless.
All right. Yes, you too. God bless.